Are fats good for you? Has there ever been a topic more confusing than that of fat? Well, I'm going to explain everything that you really need to know so you get it. Coming right up. Hey, I'm Dr. Ekberg with Wellness for Life, and if you like to truly master health by understanding how the body really works, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss anything. So for the last 50 to 70 years, we have been misled and scared about fat. It's been demonized, and we've been misled because they've been looking at the wrong thing and they've been asking the wrong questions, so they've been getting the wrong answers. So when we ask, are fats good, they usually try to answer by talking about saturated versus unsaturated. They talk about animal versus vegetables. They talk about specific foods like butter, canola, extra virgin olive oil, flax, coconut, soybean oil, corn oil, etc., etc. But they make it about these things, and it's not. If we ask the wrong question, it's very, very confusing. So the question is not, are fats good? That's the wrong question. It's not about, are saturated fats good? That's still the wrong question. So let's start looking at what we really want to look at, what the real criteria are, so we can understand this once and for all. So up at the top in green are the fats that are good, that you can eat as much as you like. Don't ever worry about them. They're just good, solid food. And the more you eat of them, the healthier you get. In the middle are foods that they're somewhat unnatural or a little bit altered. So if you eat it once in a while, it's probably not going to kill you. Just don't consider it a healthy thing. Don't overdo it. Don't do it often. And down at the bottom are things that have been completely destroyed, that are unnatural and altered, and that we want to avoid like the plague because they're basically poison. So let's look at what some of these are. Grass-fed meat, grass-fed butter, extra virgin olive oil, clean fish, avocado, whole avocado, or unrefined cold-pressed avocado oil, which is not all that tasty because it's very, very strong in flavor. But if you like it and you find it, then that's still a healthy food. Raw organic nuts, coconut oil, flax oil. Again, cold pressed, organic in a dark bottle kept in the fridge, then that would be okay. So these are all good, healthy foods. Don't ever worry about eating too much of those. Then we get down into the orange category. Here's where we have corn-fed organic beef. So you say, oh, well, I thought organic was good. Yes, but this animal still wasn't healthy. Sure, you kept pesticides away from him, but you fed him corn, which is not natural. So the cow gets very, very sick from that kind of food, sort of like humans do with beer and donuts and ice cream. And therefore, the fat gets unhealthy. You get the wrong ratios. You get a lot of unhealthy properties from that fat. Then we have corn-fed butter, corn-fed beef, etc. So if it's not organic, then it's even worse, obviously. Extra virgin olive oil that's not organic would not be such a good thing. Farmed fish, okay? Not as bad as some frankenfoods, but close, because these fish are fed the absolute worst things that you can imagine. They're fed hormones, they're fed artificial colors, they're fed any kind of leftover that they can make them eat. Refined avocado oil, or any refined oil at all, roasted nuts are not as good as raw nuts because once you roast them, the heat alters the fat properties. The fatty acids get oxidized and go rancid to a point. So here are things that you want to eat in moderation. Here you can eat as much as you like. Then down here is avoid it like the plague. These are things like corn oil, canola oil, soybean oil. Why? I thought those were natural things. Yes, but you can't squeeze oil out of corn. You have to heat it, you have to use petrochemical solvents, you have to deodorize it, you have to do all sort of very, very harsh things to it, deodorize it because it tastes terrible. And because they're so heavily processed, or even processed olive oil, because most olive oil in the cheaper categories are actually mixed up with other oils, and they're just as bad as any of those. But the point is, these are so heavily processed that they don't resemble food anymore. They have nothing in it that your body wants. And I put dry roasted nuts down here, not necessarily because all dry roasted nuts are that terrible, but I just looked recently and I looked at dry roasted peanuts of one brand versus another, and one brand contained peanuts, oil, and sea salt. And that would be okay. Don't eat it like health food, but have a snack once in a while, sure. But the other brand of dry roasted peanuts had an ingredient list of about 20 ingredients. So that means that the other 17 ingredients were chemicals, flavor enhancers, MSG, artificial flavor, this or that. So be very, very careful that a lot of things, that the more processed they are, the more chemicals they add to it, then that makes it a terrible food. And then at the very, very, very bottom, it's not even food anymore. It's more like plastic. It's shortening and margarine, because now it's not only unnatural and altered, but they also destroyed it. They have turned it into something that the world has never seen before, those trans fats that don't ever go even close to any of those. So now that we look at this, it's not about whether fats are good or bad for you, it's the quality of the fat. And in this top category, we can see that we have saturated and we have unsaturated. The meat fat, the butter, it's saturated. The coconut oil is saturated. The flax oil, clean fish, and avocado, organic nuts, those have some either unsaturated or a mix of fats in them. So you have both kinds. Here you have animal fats and you have vegetable fats. So it's not about these categories, it's about how much did we change it. If it's the way that the animals have lived on the planet for a very long time and we do very, very little to change or alter the food, then it's still a good food. But the more we change it, the more we change their food supply, the more we change the processing, the worse the food gets. The further away from the natural product we get. So the reason this is also so confusing is that they do a ton of research. And the research has all these different opinions about these items. But the question is, when they did research on saturated fats, which one did they do the research on? And when they did the research on canola oil, or when they did it on any of these items, which category was the food that they used? Because you can use good meat or terrible meat, and you also don't know what else this person ate, because it's extremely hard to isolate a person who would eat only grass-fed or grain-fed beef. They probably had some bread and maybe some margarine. So be very careful with the research. I'm all for it, but don't think that just because they put out some research that that's some sort of rock-solid information that you can trust. We want to look at what do we want to understand about this. First of all, are fats good? Yes, fats are good if they're good fats. 2, what about saturated fat? Well, saturated fat is more stable. So generally, saturated fat is better because we can alter it, we can process it from milk to butter, and it doesn't change much because saturated fats are stable. We can mess with them a little bit and not destroy them. Vegetable fats, we want to get them as much as possible from whole foods like avocado and raw nuts and clean fish. Those are fantastic sources of unsaturated fats Vegetables have some, fish have some. We want to get them from whole food because they're unstable. So when it comes to processed, you want to avoid the vegetable. You want to avoid any sort of vegetable or seed oil or anything like that, because when they're unstable and you process them, then you destroy them. And finally, when it comes to trans fats down here at the bottom, don't ever eat a trans fat again. It's like lead or aspartame or any other neurotoxin. You just don't ever want to get any of that again. So like much other food, it's not about the fat, it's the quality of the fat. It's how much did we destroy it. If we stick with foods the way that nature made them, we're usually okay. The more we change them, the further we take them away from the natural package, the further we go away from that, the more we destroy it and the more harmful it is. And then you can call it fat or sugar or meat, or it doesn't matter. If we destroy it, it's not good anymore. So because a lot of people have eaten a lot of processed food, a lot of altered food, we get these confusing messages and we think it's about the type of food rather than the quality or how altered it was. Share this video and help us get the world healthy. Thanks for watching.